Okay, so tell me about a time that you had to influence a peer, a manager, stakeholders, a customer. Tell me a little bit about what the situation was, what you did, what the result was.
Yeah, I think one example comes to mind is an office move for Cal. We moved from a 6,500 square foot facility that we had outgrown the moment we had launched Biore. This is even before we had John Frieda in the books, but Biore became an overnight success for us, doubling the size of our business. But we had a lease with this office for a number of years that we wanted to see that run out, but wanted to move us to a much larger facility, even larger than we needed, with the idea of being able to grow into it. But it was important because I kind of mapped out where everybody lived and wanted to stay reasonably close to where we were, at least really reasonably accessible, and wanted to stay, ideally, wanted to stay within 3 kilometers of where we were. And we had to also get this approved through US. There's a team there, logistics team, who helped with other office moves. And we did look at a couple of locations. One of their first locations, or one of they keyed in on, wasn't that far geographically. It was probably about 5 kilometers away, but I just knew it was on the other side of a particular highway that I knew would be a nightmare for people to get to. And I had to really kind of convince them that this was not the right location for a number of reasons. One, you're going to lose some efficiency because it's going to take a lot of people a lot longer to get to work. They're going to be ticked off. One, it's further commute, a lot further commute, just by time, not necessarily a lot of distance.
Yeah.
But I knew it was an awkward place to get to, and I said, people are going to have to leave home earlier or whatever, and you're going to have a lot of people upset. I just said, I don't think it's worth it. I mean, and it wasn't like it was a fantastic building. This was one that was already built. Didn't knock me out. And I said, we do have this other site that's actually fairly close to where a previous office was, I don't know, 15 years ago. But I liked the location. It was accessible from the highway. It was 3 kilometers from where we were, so I knew it would be, for a couple it was a little further, for a couple it was a little shorter. But at the end of the day, most people would be happy. I think that was really important because I wanted to sell a place that we could all still access. And so I had to convince a couple people in the U.S. who were involved in this decision that this was the right move. And cost-wise was going to be about the same on a per square foot. But it was really more about location was just so important because I knew that the employees and I knew what their lifestyles, and not everybody was going to be working 8 to 6. And people that got in 8:30 left at 4:30. It was important that they be able to get home for kids or whatever. And so that was, I think, something that succeeded in, and then the whole move itself was something in terms of, I think, the key around that for me was we had come from a very small office with one little boardroom, really no extra meeting rooms. We'd have meetings in there was one office that had a door, the rest were open concept door, meeting in the lunchroom. It just wasn't conducive to good business. So, in the move, kind of 3 things I wanted to focus on. One was we needed more meeting space, a much nicer boardroom in general, just a larger boardroom, but also amenity-wise nicer, and really wanted people to have a nice kitchen because it'd be a good meeting place for people to sit down. It could be an extra meeting room if we need it. We probably wouldn't, but some people might like to meet there because it just was a nice ambiance. It was a nice big space, and so putting our money where we wanted to was in the boardroom, the kitchen, and the main entranceway, just to kind of make a statement about the organization. And that was fairly a much easier sell, I think, once we got the move location patted down. And then with that, it took this once we finalized the location, wanted to announce to the staff, okay, we finalized the location. Here's where it's going to be, so that alleviates some of their fear we're going to be moving too far. And then as construction was ongoing, I think we had a couple trips to the new site, just kind of stake it out. Even it was just a shell. Here's it's much larger, and then the offices start to get built. Here's another look, just so they could familiarize themselves with what we were looking at, and also had them. I mean, when we decided on what we want, I also had the employees do like a little survey. They sat down with the designer and kind of like what is important to them too. And so what came out of that was I knew we needed more office space or meeting space, and that was critical. But the heights of the dividers was important too. In the U.S. they tended to be lower. Here they wanted higher. They wanted a little more privacy. So things like that came out of it, which was important as we finalized the plans going down. So so that was one I think where I had to do a little bit of work to convince people, but I think I had the research to back it.
Yeah.
And I think that was helpful in persuading them.
Great. How would your peers and direct reports describe your leadership style?
I think they would describe it as someone who's collaborative. It's someone who listens to all the opinions. Ultimately I would have to make the decision, but I wanted to make sure we had, try and get a consensus for doing the right thing. And these are obviously larger decisions, not the little day-to-day ones you can just do, bang, do this, do it that way. But these are, it's like the office move, it's a big one. I think I like to involve them in the decisions because ultimately you want buy-in from the staff. I don't want to just say, yeah. You want to make sure they understand or have a reason. So I think it's important that, they know what our objectives are and I was tried to, when I was GM of Canada, every month just write a little report. Here's what the month looked, here's where share was up, down. Just give them a sense of what's going on as well. And then I was emailing, and we kind of made them more formal presentations and to the staff. I think that was important too. So I think I think there's a trustworthiness too that came through. I mean, I was good at I'm not big on political nonsense and, the gossip. It goes on, but I'd rather just have the conversation and move on from there. And I think people trusted that I wouldn't, if they said it in what they wanted to, not go any further. I was fine with that. It stayed within our office, and I didn't worry about talking to other people about it. There are situations where they want people to address things, and I have to go address that. So I think there's a trustworthiness built up that one, they could trust me, and two, they knew I would try and do the right thing all the time. I think that was important, and I think that was, it sounds simple to me, but that was part of the leadership. I wasn't bombastic, I wasn't yelling, screaming, it was very calm, but just really kind of, it comes back to, how do you want to be treated too? I think that was important. How would you like to be treated in this? And that was kind of, I think, my modus operandi in terms of dealing with people, and, how would I feel in that situation? And try to empathize with people too in their situations. A lot of shit comes up in life, and I think I was tried to be fair about something comes up and deal with that, and then get back to work, because you're not going to be thinking about work. And I mean, there's exceptions, and there's there's no rule around it, but there's guidelines. I think people appreciated that too. They knew they didn't work harder for you ultimately. So I think that would be kind of how I would hope they would
That's great.
describe me.
What 3 words describe you at your best?
I think loyal. I think fair. I maybe use empathetic. And I think, at the end of the day, I'm driven for results too, though. There is an underlying drive to accomplish the goal. So loyalty, fairness, drive.
Great. Tell me a little more about why you're interested in this role.
Yeah, I think a couple things interest me, but this one, it's I miss the beauty care industry. I was in it for 16 years. It's a fun industry. It's a feel good industry. It's not like some other industries. We're not solving or curing cancer. We're trying to make people look good and feel better about themselves. I think that's what's fun about this industry. It's also it's a little different from my world in that there's a lot more entrepreneurial industry. Certainly from the the salon side, you're dealing with salon designers or hair designers. Even within the business side of it, membership side, there's a lot of entrepreneurs with their own distributorships. It's not like, we're dealing with, in my old world, it was like 6 major companies. There's other peripheral companies with 6 kind of majors who more of an oligopoly. Here, I think it's a little more spread out, but I think it's also an opportunity to kind of use my leadership skills in a different manner than perhaps I'm used to, because I'm used to dealing with for-profit. This is a not-for-profit. But having said that, I've also had the opportunity to work on the CCTFA as being on the board of directors and being a member, and also now sitting on a desk helping, doing some consulting work on the trade file. And I think I get a good appreciation for, what's involved in associations. It's not, it is different. You're at the end of the day, you've got to represent the mandate of the membership and what they want to deliver. But I think you can have fun with that. I think there should be some creativity that you can bring that's maybe a little different in the way, maybe the associations looked at the business and thought about the business. Coming from my world, it was always about the bottom line and delivering the results. I would say you'd still need to do that here, but it may be a little different approach. And I just look I'm looking forward to a new opportunity, new challenge.
Tell me about the opportunity you see with this role.
Yeah, I mean, what I know about it, as I understand, I believe the membership is down a little bit. Certainly, I understand that there's been, I guess, trade shows that would go on 8 per year down to, I've heard 4, maybe 6 every other year. And I need to understand too, what is the goal of the association in terms of what's your mandate? Is it to get these back to 8? Is that the key driver, or is it consolidation better? But I think also, you want to make sure you continue with your membership. You want to be relevant to your membership. I don't know enough about what has been done, or have you approached members about what needs to, what do they want? I think that's going to be important too, because these associations change. I saw it with the CCTFA. It was an old boys club. I wasn't with it when they used to meet in Bahamas or Florida and golf, have a few drinks, and have a little meeting. Ha ha ha. Now it's become much more relevant because they're dealing with issues that are important to the industry, and it's dealing with government relations, it's dealing with the environment. Those are 2 very key areas that have come up. So I see an association provide a really good, be a representative of the membership, and be presenting yourself to the various stakeholders. But I think I'm rambling here. I gotta wrap this up. What was the question again? Sorry.
The opportunity you see with the role.
Yeah. So I think, if it could be to increase membership. I understand there's this subgroup, the CABA, that you want to increase membership on. I'd need to understand a little more about that and what is the driver. Like what, you guys, the association may think this is a great opportunity, but I don't know if the CABA people or potential CABA people really see what the opportunity is or the relevancy for them. I think that needs to be, understood. How do we make it relevant if it's not? So that we can get more members into the group. And then once we do that, what are we going to do for them? Is it going to be education? Is it going to be opportunities for shows? I mean, I don't know. And these are things we need to find out, and I'm willing to work and kind of help solve that for you.
Great. What makes you qualified for this job?
I think one, first of all, passion for the industry. So I love this industry. It's a fun industry. It's a great industry. I've met great people in it. I think I can bring my for-profit hat in terms of, at the end of the day, there's a business we've got to run. We've got to make sure we're profitable. But I think also there's the side of me where I'm very collaborative in my approach. I'm, good with meeting people. I think I had great relationships with all my, I would say stakeholders, I guess, whether it be my PR firm, my advertising company. We had a third-party artist. I always treated those people well, and I think, with respect. And I think that's what I can bring in terms of being able to, build a team and make sure this is a community too. It's not just about me, it's about the association, how we can grow and build, and how we be relevant. And, is it relevant to whoever the state, is it relevant to the government, is it relevant to our members, who is it? We need to, I think, maybe you've decided that, maybe you just need somebody to execute it, or maybe you need somebody to help decide what that is. Happy to do either.
You've got an impressive background, and we're worried that you're a little overqualified for this role, and that you might get bored quickly.
I don't think that's fair in the sense of, I think there's I could see a lot of challenge here if it is growing membership. I think that's one, that takes time, that's building relationships with people, and again, but delivering what is the relevancy of this organization. Because one of the questions I have for you folks is, what if there was no ABA? What would happen to this industry? I'm sure it wouldn't fall apart, but it would go on. But why is this so important, and what is it? How can we make it more important, and what can we do to deliver, what the membership needs? And I think that's what's going to be the challenge and the fun in finding that out, because you may have done some of the work, but maybe you haven't executed it, or maybe you don't have all the answers and need to figure that out. And that's kind of part of the fun, I think. So I don't think it'll be boring. I think it's a totally different challenge from what I've been accustomed to. And I just think that I've got the leadership, the ability to collaborate and work with people, that I think I can really help this organization.
Love it. What are your salary expectations?
Yeah, I guess I think I thought about this a bit. I realize not-for-profit is different from for-profit, or likely to be different from for-profit. In terms of salary guidelines, but I've also looked at, or considered what I think the role requirements are or can be, and the skills experience I offer, and I think, what I can do to grow the organization. You know, I have a salary range in mind, but I wanted to kind of understand where you guys are.
Yeah, yeah.